We're Bat Minute 89. Greetings, citizens of Gotham, and welcome once again to Bat Minute 89, the show that investigates Tim Burton's Batman 1 minute at a time, live from the Monarch Theatre. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
Oh, I'm the starstruck, stage-frightened co-host, Niall McGowan. I didn't realize we were live until there now. Like, oh crap, what am I going to do?
Live from Largo. No, sorry, that's a different show.
What's up,
Anyway.
jerks?
All right, you're the Jason of the group. Anyway, we are joined by, yet again, very special guest, all the way from America. Ooh, because that's new. Nah, most of our guests are.
It's like 90% of our other guests.
90% from Pele Media, Brady Crane.
Hey, thanks for having me on again, guys. It's been a fun week. The Monarch Theater is the last place I want to be coming to you live from.
Well, it'll be a killer show.
There you go. Unless it was for How Did This Get Made, then I would definitely be there.
Because apparently we're now hosting that. We've taken over the reins.
I think, these guys, I looked at these minutes. I think this movie might be terrible.
Right.
That was my best Jason. That was the best one I could muster.
You can tell it's a Friday. I'm the Paul of the group, I think, anyway. So I suppose, Brady, you're the June. Sorry.
Oh, I'll take it. I'll take it.
June's cool.
The crowd, like, Brady.
But yes, welcome to minute 87. And the minute starts with Bruce perusing an unsolved police report. And it ends with a flashback to the Wayne family having a lovely evening. Nothing can bring them down.
That's the thing. We kind of got off to like a giddy start here, but it's like, oh yeah, this is like the beginning of like the most depressing part of the movie.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, I think it was Monday, or maybe Wednesday, that I think this movie that really prides itself on being a serious take on Batman and a dark movie, which it is, never really gets truly dark until this moment in the film when Bruce finally just says enough is enough to the Joker and goes and opens up this thing. And you gotta, the headline here says Thomas Wayne murdered, prominent doctor and wife slain. And then in fine print, it says unidentified gunman leaves child unharmed. So I want you to imagine your pastime when you have to get to a certain place for whatever reason, as you go into your private quarters or whatever, and you open up the front page that you have kept all these years about the slaying of your parents, and then it says right there, unharmed child is left unharmed, and the pressure that must put on you and your psyche. My parents are dead, but I'm unharmed.
Yeah,
and I can go the rest of my life reading this headline every day if I have to one, preserve this thing that I have to continue to be, in this case Batman, or if I just want to do it to. I mean, there's no wanting to do it. That guilt is always going to be there because of a freaking headline.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, as we've seen, he has been harmed in a way.
Yeah.
Because it's completely changed his life.
Yeah.
His whole approach to the world. Like, he doesn't have a life, does he? It's taken that from him. He is Batman, as we've said.
Could
That's
be like,
it. That's
literally
all
the headline could have been like, child left very harmed, substantially harmed.
Scarred for life. Yeah.
Yeah. And, just in terms of it becoming this dark moment, to further emphasize just how like tragic it is, the music, Danny Elfman's score here just gets really, really great. There's this violin that slowly builds and just is sort of hanging there on one note while the rest of the music is changing. And we push in on Keaton's expression, and he's so torn. And the light, everything about this moment is just, it really does it for me. It's we're in true Batman territory here. So
again, this is like, we've talked about the sort of having a newfound appreciation for Keaton's performance, and this is one of the moments like it's a masterclass in like subtle acting.
Yeah,
because you can see like when it closes in and he puts the hand up, which I should note that apparently that shot of him with this kind of his raised sort of clenched fist to his mouth is a direct reference to the first time the Wayne murders were covered in the comics. Let's get up the exact details here, but in Detective Comics 33, which was the first comic to depict Batman's origin, It's a sign. It's the other hand, but it's the same angle, and it looks like they're directly referencing. It's him thinking about the murder, and they're doing it in this film as well. So it's like, there was little, but yeah, it's just there's even as it's going in, you can see the shifts in Keaton's mood from just like real really like going to get into the business here, and then as he's read that headline, you can see almost like a minor flinch of like it's all flooding back, like it's the dam's opened again. By opening the most 80s looking police file I can imagine, with the jet black with the red writing. And this is all just thinking about it just for like a couple of seconds. It's just like it's really, you can see it still has not a Christian Bale like our parents are dead, like real raw rage, but you can see it's really still affected this guy in a deep way.
It's more real. I find this more real than if someone was going over the top. I really do. Because it's been years. I'm not saying you get over it, but I think you deal with it and process it in a different way after this length of time. And to me, the acting from him, it's all in that little movement of the lip at the end there. There's like he curls it, like you can see he's angry, but it's not like as you say.
He really looks like it's in his eyebrows too, and I love the fact that we're examining his facial features here. But that's the pedigree of actor that we're dealing with here. I mean, he looks like he's on the verge of tears, and then he really just kind of like shifts that expression into anger. And you have to imagine that that's what this guy does. He blocks the tragedy, he blocks the tears, he blocks the sadness, and turns that into anger and focused anger. And just having to force yourself to think like that on a daily basis for 30 years, 40, however old he's supposed to be in this movie, is pretty compelling. And they do it so subtly and almost, I guess, classy, for lack of a better way. In
a movie that you wouldn't expect classy acting. Not to knock, but it's a superhero movie in the 80s. Yeah. The last thing people expect is an actor.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is the moment, the last couple of minutes, where the movie shifts into that. And you're not expecting it. You're expecting more of kind of the goofy dark, the hand of the dead flowers coming up out of a box, or some of the stuff Nicholson is doing. And all of a sudden we're getting this. I mean, I'm looking at this and feeling it. And it's just, I don't know. It's a really, really, really cool moment. Really turns this movie into something else. And from this moment on, it's not the same.
In the best possible way.
In the best possible way. Absolutely, yeah.
Going back to the actual file before, I thought it was quite interesting how, yet again, he seems to have unlimited access to like actual official police files. Like these aren't copies or like he's intercepted data. He's literally like borrowed the paperwork.
I really wonder. I was thinking, is this entire file just the Wayne case? Or has he got like 30 other unsolved cases there that he's just stolen all the information from? And if something,
because it's massive. Actually,
something else pops up, they're like, "Oh, go get the file. We got a lead," and they're like, "The file's missing."
It makes sense. Yeah, exactly. It makes sense that Bruce Wayne would probably try and get his hands on stuff like that, so that he could be the extension of the law that the law can't be, because he thinks in a way that they don't or can't.
I think I just assumed he would sort of get the files. Well, he would send his trusty manservants, of course, as he always seems to do, to get the files, copy them, and sneak them back. That's how I always pictured it. But no, he's just got them. And this newspaper clipping looks mint. It looks brand new.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's protected that with his life, like, because that means so much to him, obviously. So he wants to keep that pristine, even though it's a horrible moment. I think that's like the last thing he has of his parents, isn't it?
Yeah. There's something interesting about the picture that they used for the front page. And Pat Hingle tells a story about something in the original draft, which I didn't get a chance to read. I regret. And that there was a whole part about... let's see. Let me collect my thoughts here. What the hell was he saying? There was a little bit more about Gordon and him kind of taking Bruce to the side. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you heard this?
I
don't know if I do. I'm thinking. I'm racking my brain.
I think there's one of the drafts there's a bit more. If it's a bit like a Batman Begins-esque sort of thing, where like Jim Gordon was there. He was one of the cops on the scene, and he does have a moment with Bruce Wayne and stuff. But that was probably when they were deciding to put, Police Commissioner Gordon in this movie, until they decided, oh, he's not really in the movie. Like they just they kind of forgot to make him a character for a while.
Oh yeah, wait a minute.
That guy.
Until it's like the third one, where his entire thing is just to be like, hello, Batman. Goodbye, Batman. It's like literally nothing else to him. I guess that bit with, we'll get to it eventually, but where he's just like, the Riddler's taken over everything, and like all the police could do was just stand by the bat signal, hoping he shows up. Like, they've presumably been there for hours. And it's like, he's not coming. It's like, I guess we're gonna have to go and do our jobs. But
right. Well, let's get into Footlight Frenzy.
Oh yeah, because when obviously it cuts to, well, should we call it? Yeah, we'll say it's a flashback. It's not a spoiler. Everyone knows what's happening. It's a flashback. Because I wanted to ask as well. It says the Monarch Theatre is there. Now, I always assumed, I think because I had just not thought about this at all, but I assumed by theatre that they meant they were seeing a play.
Yeah.
But in this, at least, it's for like a cinema. See, in England, we wouldn't say theatre for the cinema. We don't really use that term, do we, Niall? That's like
no.
The theatre would be like a play.
Yeah. This is more like a theater or like a cinema in the, like we have here, like the Liverpool Philharmonic Hall, which occasionally will show films. But I think that's the kind of vibe they're going for. It's like it is a theater, but I guess
here we do say movie theater.
Yeah.
I guess we could just say cinema and keep it simple, but no, we have to make things complicated. So Footlight Frenzy was an actual movie that came out just a few years before Batman, and unless I was just totally overlooking it, I couldn't find anything in doing some research. Footlight Frenzy wasn't really anything before a movie just a couple years before that was a spoof on stage plays. So I'm wondering, like, why the hell they would have, and Warner Brothers had to like get the rights to the movie to use it on the poster.
Yeah.
Why they would have gone to the trouble of that when they could have just gone with Zorro.
Yeah, just make it Zorro.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. It is a bit of an odd one in that I don't think.
Or make something up.
I think they designed this poster specifically for this movie. I think it might have been like a weird, like a coincidence. Like, I think they were going for like, it's supposed to be kind of like the old movie Footlight Parade. And then they were going ahead with this, and then they found out, like, there is a film called Footlight Frenzy. And they're like, oh, crap. And then, so yeah, they've got this, and they've got this poster. It's very much based on the kind of, it looks like something from like the 1920s. Yeah. It's like it looks like the Metropolis poster or something like that.
Right. That German expressionism style that you see with the, the Art Deco, you can tell is just right out of Tim Burton's brain.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
With that, though, apparently on this poster, they do have the names of the people from the film, though. Like people, Ron House, Diz White, and Alan Sherman. Apparently their names are on that poster, and they were in Footlight Frenzy. So it seems to be a really weird confusion of what the hell happened here about what.
Maybe that was part of the deal, though, like for using the name. Even though you can't see the damn poster, really. Because to be honest, I've never noticed what is on the poster. I've just saw Footlight Frenzy.
I've always just seen Footlight. Frenzy's kind of hidden. But you've got to wonder, why go to all the trouble to have to get the right... Was it so important to somebody that they use Footlight Frenzy? I mean, why not just make something up?
It's one of those things, because, like, usually it would tie in... Because, classically it's supposed to be, as you mentioned, the Mark of Zorro. And then, in Batman Begins, it's not the Fledermaus. I think we talked about this once before. You'd assume it's the Fledermaus. But apparently it's Mephistophel or something, I think you called the play he goes to see. Right. And then even in Batman vs. Superman, they have a whole thing where it's Excalibur. And thematically throughout, if you know Excalibur, you can see like, oh, there's mirrors to that film. That's why he's chosen Excalibur. But this is just like...
It's random.
It's just like, the Wayne's like musicals? Yeah. I don't know. Why is this here?
That is strange.
It's a very odd choice. You think maybe it was just like, we don't want to go into that Adam West's everything. If it was something with a bat, then it would look too silly. So we're just going something completely unrelated.
It's got enough of that sort of dark vibe, though, that suits this Batman, without being too cheesy and having bats on it and things. Because I hadn't really taken the poster in. It always just sort of zoomed by me, and I hadn't thought about it. So going through like this, I really loved the poster. So I was reading about it. And I don't mind admitting this. I just stole this from the Batman wiki. was the because it's got a breakdown of the poster, and it says that it evokes German expressionism in shades of grey, and featured a woman with long fingernails, brunette hair, a devil locks hairstyle, a black leotard, and fishnet stockings. She stood on a stairway surrounded by slanted buildings in a metropolitan setting. I was like, okay, now I read that and then I look back at it again and I love it even more. This is a great poster. It looks very old-fashioned. It's going for a kind of... I'm trying to think of a movie that's similar to this. I've seen posters like this for films, like old movies, like Universal would re-release on DVD from like the 30s.
Yeah, I will assume that's more like Metropolis or like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, like that kind of. That was the vibe I kind of got from it.
Yeah.
So I love it, and it's a shame that you don't see it more in the film. I know we are seeing it a lot, but normally you don't pay attention.
The patron who's coming through the doors on the playbill, you can see that the poster image is on there as well.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
I should also mention fans of this podcast may well remember way back in minute 3 when we finally burst out the credits, we covered the fact that Footlight Frenzy is still showing in 1989 Gotham. Apparently, either this theater closed down straight after. Or it was like friggin' Titanic times 7,000 or something. Like people just keep coming to watch friggin' Footlight Frenzy.
Well, again, though, even more reason that in my mind it's a play, because if a play is on that long, you don't question that. You're like, oh, Les Miserables is on again. Okay, cool. Or it's Rent is back. Okay,
yeah, cool. maybe we could take it as it is. Like, yeah, this is like the West End of Gotham, and this is like their longest running show. Yeah, but it makes more sense than it's just a movie, I guess, but
well, it definitely leads to more conversation.
Oh yeah,
which is awesome. But that's a question I'll be asking for as long as I'm watching this movie: is why did they just want to go with Footlight Frenzy so bad?
It's
very strange.
It's very strange. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to quickly say as well, like the shot of the Waynes coming out of the theater. Because we had, Tim Burton's done little classy references to like, the House of Wax and things like that. But they're all like, well, that's all your ghoulish Vincent Price movies. That's all well and good. But he's got, this one apparently is a very, very artsy reference. This is all designed to evoke the same images from The 400 Blows, the Truffaut movie, which had a very similar sort of scene. And I guess it's like the character in that, it's supposed to be, both of them are examples of the main character during a brief period of a happier time in their life, I guess, is what is the reason why it's there like that. But it's just, you wouldn't think like, Tim Burton's is, educated in film history as much as any of the other big auteurs, and we just associate him with like, he likes his Hammer horror and stuff like that so much. But he's probably a Truffaut fan. He's like, I'll throw in a little nod to that as well and class up this thing.
Fair enough.
Oh, that's crazy.
That is interesting.
I thought maybe this film must have been a bit of a downer, because looking at all these people coming out, they look miserable. They look bloody terrible. Like, I mean, at least they aren't talking about all of the plot points on the way out, because I hate it when people do that coming out seeing a film. But nobody looks particularly happy, except I suppose Bruce's parents do when they hand him a little hat and whatnot. But other than that, it's...
Well, I want to... off of that, you say his hat. So this movie has that sort of like out of time quality. It's timeless. We don't know what time we're in. The cars look relatively contemporary, but the clothes certainly aren't. And, architectural designs are not. This still feels a little bit further back than that. I think if that's their, plan, they've done a really good job, because I feel like we're going a little bit further back in time. And it's got something to do with the clothing. It's got something to do with, his hat specifically. I just don't think you'd see somebody in a Newsy hat then,
It's the second week in a row that Newsies has been brought up in this podcast.
Really? No kidding. Let's see. I can't tell. We're watching this in 480p here on the minutes that you sent me, but I couldn't make out a date on the newspaper, which would answer all of these questions. So I know that on the police files for Jack Napier, it does have some dates on that.
It does have. I think it has dates that say
like the 70s and the 80s.
I think in the Napier thing, it was, I think they had 86 on Napier's thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was 89. Mm-hmm. It could have been 89. I think it might have actually, maybe it was 89. I remember it was his one was very specific, and then all the other newspapers that we've been looking at throughout, or it's all headlines from 1947 or whatever. It was like really...
Well, yeah, that's what confuses me, because there was a reference to... What was that thing I brought up a few weeks ago?
It was stuff about like Eisenhower.
A communist leader who was killed in like the 50s?
Yeah.
And that was news on the paper? Really? None of it makes sense. And I think now, looking at it like this, it's deliberate. It's not just like, well, that looks cool. I think they are deliberately throwing you off to make you aware it's like a different world. Almost.
Yeah, because somebody's going to notice that at some point.
Yeah.
Somebody looking for things being... I don't know what the word is, but things lining up is going to catch that and say like, oh, wait, we can't do this, can't do that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you got to think that might be intentional.
Definitely.
Which is that's cool if that is what they're doing. But yeah, this sequence here definitely feels like a little bit more out of time to me.
I think you said his hat, but also his mother's clothes.
Yeah.
She's got like the fur
absolutely.
and that. It seems even older, than what we've seen in the other bits.
And the ladies who walk out of the theater right after her, it's their clothes just look so...
I also noticed the plumes of smoke coming from people as everyone's just desperate to get a cigarette outside. It's like, Jesus, we're finally out of there.
So, okay, the music, like we saw right before we went into the flashback, was just very haunting, like we were talking about, and tragic. And now it's just downright weird and creepy.
Yeah, considering that this family are just having a lovely evening out. I mean,
I know, which just throws us off even more, makes us more uncomfortable. It's so dreamlike. And then, whenever their steps, or we see their footsteps, are all just sort of in sync with one another, is, just all the more unnerving. And I actually didn't even catch that until I was taking notes for the
One thing I find it's very unnerving in it is the fact that, like, you can see Martha Wayne, as we now, everyone knows she's called Martha now after last year.
Yeah.
But you see her talking to Bruce, but you don't hear what she's saying. Yet you do hear the sound effect of him crumpling up the playbill. So it's cutting out the dialogue, but the sound effects are all still there, and you can still hear like this kind of howl of wind. And that's very sort of puts you on edge of like, this is weird. That it's like the sound effect, the footsteps are there, but not the dialogue and stuff. It's
do you think that's also because it's a flashback? So it's like it's a memory. Like, you don't often actually remember the things people say to you because it doesn't seem important at the time. So he's remembering the mood, the atmosphere, like what he felt and maybe heard, but not so much the finer details. Like, well, my mother said to me, "Oh, come on, we're gonna," you don't remember things like that, do you?
No.
Yeah, it's so strange. I've actually had some stuff happen in my past, like death of loved ones and things like that you were there to experience, and you just block it as much as you can. And trying to like force yourself to go back and for whatever reason and relive it is, it's just you just remember a mood and colors and things like that, but never a conversation, never dialogue shared between people. So it's interesting the things that the mind wants to block. And I can only imagine in a situation like this, what he would have taken with him. Yeah. And the things that he is able to draw on and the blanks that he has to fill so that he can go back and face these demons on whatever frequent basis he has to do it. And so, I don't know, dreamlike is kind of probably the way it would actually play out in your mind and not maybe the way that we would have seen in other interpretations. Do you guys have a favorite retelling of the Wayne murder?
Oh, I think this is the best iteration of it.
I think so too.
I'd go with this one. I mean, I think it's always been done well. I don't think there's any that I particularly hate, but this one to me stands out the most. Yeah,
and in this case, we're told throughout the movie, or it's revealed throughout the movie, like this guy's parents were murdered. It's told up front, like when Knox is showing Vicky the microfilm at the newspaper, and the newspaper that he's flipping through right before this, we know what's going to happen, but it's just played out so slowly and methodically and everything that it's just, we know what's coming. Whereas in some of the other interpretations, it's just dropped on you. And I think that makes this so much more unnerving is that there's the anticipation. We know what's going to happen, but it's just Tim Burton is doing such a good job of just slowly dropping in bit by bit.
Yeah.
And whereas we do know what's going to happen, we don't know who is behind it, and that is so. Right when you think you've seen it all, you got it all covered and everything, a bomb is dropped.
Yeah.
So,
That's probably why he saved it for this moment rather than starting with it. Because if you put it at the beginning, I think you're tempted to not change it or twist it in any way from what you know already. So saving that big bit for later on in the movie, that pays off, I think.
Absolutely. It absolutely does. And again, don't want to spoil it or anything, but I will say that I think there's some debate on was that necessary, and I think it's extremely necessary in this film because we have to have that personal connection. Batman can't just be fighting crime. He can't just be fighting the Joker. There's got to be a personal reason.
Not this Batman. This Batman can't be doing that. You're right. Like other iterations, it might not work.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And I'm trying not to step on someone else's minutes here, but I think it's necessary in this film to have had it played out, like who's behind it. So I don't know. Just me. I know there's different schools of thoughts on that.
Again, too, like I can't remember at what minute we were talking about it, but we were trying to work out like, because nowadays everyone knows the story of Batman, like why he is the way he is. Yet, like, when this film came out, the John Q. public, their main memory of it was Adam West. And in that show, it's just like, oh, it's Anne Harriet's there and all this kind of stuff. And I don't think they ever touch upon, his parents were murdered. And that's why he does what he does. That subject matter was too grim for them to approach. So I always kind of like, at this point in 89, was there a sort of thing of like, well, people might not know what his deal is. So it plays out this way in the film as if the audience themselves is Vicky Vale, where they're like, why is he going and leaving these flowers here? And like, what is going on with this guy? What the hell's the deal?
Yeah, it's a good build, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's only now you're like, oh, I get it. His parents were murdered by some guy. Like,
so they really were in a way reintroducing the world to Batman.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne and the story of and everything. So, you guys made a point, and I can't remember which episode it was or what the point was, but it got me thinking about how this movie might be Vicky Vale's story, because like you just said, we're seeing it unfold as she is experiencing it. And Burton didn't always follow Batman. He didn't always follow Bruce Wayne in his films. He was always focused on someone else, namely the villains. But I think it'd be interesting to see a recut of this film where you extract certain things to really put the emphasis on her and how she's experiencing the
I would love
story.
that. All from her perspective alone. That would be a great movie.
It'll be literally like some of the major set pieces that have to go. That was like all that Axis Chemical stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Gone. And I guess it'll be more confusing. It's like, who is this Joker guy? What the hell is he doing? Why does he look like a clown? Is he wearing makeup? What's going on?
Yeah. I think there's a recut of the Phantom Menace out there that they took out a bunch of stuff, and it's like 20 minutes long or something.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I like it when people do that for fun. Like for interesting experiments, but when people say I'm gonna fix the Phantom Menace, it's like no. Just,
no, you're not. Yeah,
you aren't gonna make it better. Like just accept it or don't accept it. It's, well, I suppose lightening the mood somewhat. Simple question, right? What child have you ever met who would leave a movie and have leftover popcorn? I was very disturbed by this. I normally, as a 31-year-old man, as of recording, I eat the whole thing before the damn movies start. How has he got? I mean, did he get more? I suppose it's old. Maybe there was an interval and he got another bag.
Maybe there was.
You don't really get that these days.
So you were commenting on how unhappy a lot of the people look. Maybe the thing was cancelled. Maybe like the performance was like, oh no, they're not going on. So he's only just got this popcorn, and everyone else is like, oh, for God's sake, it came all the way here. And then like Thomas Wayne is like, oh, thank God, I was dreading seeing that thing, and that's why he's so happy.
I tell you what, I wouldn't let any popcorn go to waste, no matter what the circumstances, and I certainly wouldn't drop it into a puddle. I don't care what's going on. Sorry.
Yep. No matter what, I'm clinging to that bag.
Can't comment until next week. So spilled popcorn. Don't know what you're talking about.
What else was I going to say? I've completely lost my notes there. I mean, I said in an earlier minute that this flashback has already happened in the original draft. So it's kind of hard to compare because it's a different point in the movie, in the draft. But it's around here in that draft that Knox, he threatens Bruce instead of this. He wants him to hang up the suit and leave Vicky alone. For her good or his own, I mean, I don't know. It's probably a little bit of both, isn't it? But either way, Bruce won't do it. As Joker, he's got to be stopped. So it's pretty bad timing from Knox there to go, hey, stop being Batman right now. Yeah. So he very quickly backs down, and instead he just asks him to leave Vicky alone instead. It's like it didn't take long for him to crumble on his demands. It's like, oh no, just leave her alone. I want to be with her.
Yeah, the thing is that draft version of Knox is a much stronger character in the regard that he's more of a force in the whole love triangle square thing, whatever's going on. Whereas the Knox on screen is like, yeah, he's a bit sleazy at the beginning and he's a bit inappropriate, but it does seem by this point that he is very much like, look, he's kind of got the message of like, she's hooked up with this Wayne guy. Oh, we're partners. I gotta look out for my partner. He does seem like he gets a bit more noble as the film goes on. Until, well, we'll talk about what happens to Knox obviously in due time. But
you definitely got to give it to the guy for being able to open the trunk of a car by karate chopping it. That is my favorite thing in any movie ever, and I have tried to do that so many times,
broken
cars, and it never works. No,
but yeah, I think that draft of Knox is like, yeah, he susses out who Batman is. He's just like,
yeah.
He's a bit more on the ball, where this guy's a bit more like, oh, that Bruce Wayne guy is weird. So anyway, this Batman, who could he be?
Yeah.
Well, actually, Brady, while you're here, I mean, he's not in the minute, but I've brought him up now. What are your feelings on Knox? We've asked a few people now because
love him.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, because we hated him before we did this, and throughout we've come around to him. We really like the character.
Yeah, he brings some levity to the movie. He's a good comic relief without being too comic reliefy. And like you were saying in that draft, he does kind of come around a little bit more. I think in this film, he's also got his helpful moments where he's not just being a goof. He's actually there like a beneficial presence in Vicky's life. I think, wasn't he supposed to die at one point?
Yeah.
In a draft, yeah.
I think it was the. Again, we might have to cut this out because we'll cover it later on. But yeah, it was the popularity of Robert Wool, and it's like couldn't have been that popular. They've never mentioned the character since.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And Arliss wasn't going on at the time, I don't think. His TV series.
Yeah, but I've really got to go out of my way to watch Arliss because it's just like it was never a thing over here that I recall. Maybe because I was out at the age it was out. That wouldn't have been.
Same here.
Yeah, but it's been mentioned so much, and it's one of those things like when you've never noticed something, and then when you do take note of it, you start seeing it everywhere. And the amount of times this year that Arliss has popped up out of things to me, as if apparently it always was some sort of social force that everyone knew about Arliss but me. And it's like,
I mean, I don't think anyone would have really heard about it unless the guy from Batman was in it. Unfortunately, Robert Wool?
Robert Wool, yeah.
Is always going to be one of those guys, I think. Alexander Knox. His name is Alexander Knox, not Robert Wool. He's Chief Brody. He's not Roy Scheider.
Yeah, 100%.
But no, I love the inclusion of the character. He's a lot of fun. I did. You did mention a few weeks ago the behind the scenes making of Batman thing that came on TV where he's called Robert Wool, but he's playing Knox.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell is going on? So
nobody can figure that out.
Yeah.
But sadly, the minute actually it ends here, doesn't it? With them walking and the ominous music. So what could possibly happen?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so all these things have like got information on the people who play the Waynes, but I can leave it till next week because we see them. Hey, as far as we know, this is going to be a very nice, pleasant walk home for them, and we're going to see a nice evening in Wayne Manor where everything's nice and happy, so we can talk about who played them next week when all that's going down.
Well, before we do wrap up, Brady, we do like to ask our guests at the end of the week about their history with the movie or with Batman as a franchise as a whole. So, how did you first come on board with the Bat?
It may have been this movie. I was born just a few years before it came out. And I've never really been into comics that much, but I've always definitely admired the character of Batman specifically. I think everybody can connect because he doesn't have superpowers, and he's just a guy. And the things that he are dealing with are things that are real, tangible situations. Unfortunately, I would hope no one ever has to witness the kind of things that drove him to become Batman. But it's all real things, real elements, and I think that's what has made the character last for as long as it has. So I came to know him through this movie. It's still one of my favorite interpretations of the character for sure. And that's been my experience with Batman.
Good. Pretty similar to me then, because this is. I probably saw this before I was too old to even really understand it. It was just always kind of there. This was my Batman. I grew up with this
exactly
every day. I'd stick the VHS on. So it's very similar. And I'm not a huge comic book guy either. So again, similar.
I suppose, Brady, if you've been listening to the show, you might have been dying to chime in. Jack Nicholson, sexy or no? What's your opinion?
I tell you what, I've never really found the guy to be that, dashing.
Yes.
But he is. They try and make him like super sexy and as good as it gets. And I guess he's got like some charm to him and everything, but they keep talking about like, oh, so sexy and all this. I'm like, no, he's an asshole. Yeah.
I recently rewatched As Good as It Gets, and it's considering that's 20 years now. That's 97. And that's one of those things like this film would not be made today. It's just like, because he's such a flat out, he's homophobic, he's racist. Everything about him. He's a horrible person. And it's just sort of like, but he's a lovable old curmudgeon. It's like, no, he's a scumbag. There's no...
Yeah, he's a scumbag. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I haven't watched that in years, man. Thanks for reminding me of that. I'm going to have to watch that.
But still, beyond that, if you can get past that, it's still a good film. But it's just a little cross you have to bear as you're going through it,
Now I've got to watch it as research, essentially, for the show.
There you go.
It's like, Good as It Gets minutes. Come in, Brady, John, and Niall hosting this time next year.
There you go.
Straight after the Michael Keaton Frankenstein thing we're doing as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone did make that Movies by Minutes. Every single movie is now being made as a Movies by Minutes
thing. Seems like it.
I'd be intrigued though if someone would do, like, if you were going to do like Frankenstein, like if you started off like we're doing Karloff Frankenstein, like the James Whale original, and then you hop to like, now we're doing the Hammer version where it's, Christopher Lee, and then jump to like a 1970s version of Frankenstein or something.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And compare and contrast. Oh, that'd be amazing. Someone make it, please. We're too busy.
Cool. Yeah, even if it was just like a little series or something, not minute by minute.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting, huh?
Oh, yeah.
But no, guys, thank you so much for having me on. I really, really had a lot of fun this week. I've been looking forward to being on the show for a while. This is a great one.
It's great to have you. A big inspiration for me coming on the show. It's good.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
I've just been wondering if the people, because you've been so sort of burned out and doing so many of the shows, people will be like, oh, Brady, he's back, fine.
Yeah, he's back.
All the fans, like, they come into it like a damp riverbed, just trying to suck up every little bit of Brady they can get.
My God.
Keep me in mind for Batman Returns minute, or however you're going to word that, because very interesting movie. Got some thoughts on it.
Theoretically, it'd be Bat Minute Returns, but then I think because we've already got all the Twitter stuff set up, it might have to be like Bat Minute 89, Bat Minute Returns or something.
Yeah, we didn't think about that when we named the show. Oh dear, we'll sort something out.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
But before...
Just start buying all those URLs right now.
Yeah, quick. Before we do go into the dark night, Brady, once again, before our listeners, I can't even speak. It's that fun of Friday. Before they go off and enjoy the Friday, where can they find your great podcasts?
You can find Jurassic Park Minute, Goonies Minute, and Ghostbusters Minute on iTunes or wherever else quality podcasts like this one can be found. And you can also find some more information, facebook.com/Pele Media. We also had a Patreon show for a little while that we've since stopped doing, but you can find those out there as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, make sure to check them out because, as I've said all week, that they're all brilliant, all great stuff. And you can find us online everywhere you can possibly imagine. We are on Facebook. We've got the Batminute 89 Listener Society. And we are on Twitter at Batminute 89. And we also are on Instagram and Tumblr. But make sure as well, the most important thing is to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, because every review helps us out immensely. So that'd be great if you all reviewed us. We will love you and we'll shout you out on the air, in fact. I should have probably prepped this, but I do have a new review. Who have we got here? We have a new review from, I will just read the username. It says Rendar27. So thank you to you, Rendar, whoever you are.
This is like Dash Rendar from, was it Shadow of the Empire or whatever?
Yes, Dash Rendar.
Yeah.
Officially reviewing the show.
I wonder what happened to that guy.
Well, you'll have to find out. You'll have to tune in again on Monday, because I'm promising too much there. I promise too much. But yes, do join us again on Monday, because we will be back. We will sadly have a new guest. So unfortunately, Brady won't be here, but the new guest will be good as well.
It's making it sound like this new guest is going to be terrible. It's just like, oh, we got somebody coming in next week. Oh, jeez.
No, they're great too. Yeah. You'll love all our guests, I'm sure. So yes, join us again on Monday. We will have minute 88 of Batman. See you then.
Next time, a blast from the past. As some film-fancying folks are followed by the sound of fearsome footfalls, which familiar face will force fatality on Bruce's family? Find out next week. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.